Hey there, people! So today I am bringing you my Terraria Hardmode guide, and apparently we're having a party too. So this is my newer, better one, of course. I did do one long ago. This is including what Hardmode is and how to get there, preparations and tips, how to get wings and the new ores, expert level details where applicable, and a brief overview of the bosses and events, new enemies, new items, and so on. So this will be covering all platforms as usual, so mobile, iOS and Android, console, both old gen and new gen consoles, Xbox 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, PC, 3DS, and others. Basically, it's an all-in-one. And I'll throw in some timestamps in the description for the different sections of the video, as well as at least one wiki link in that description as well. So what is hard mode? Well, first of all, do not confuse hard mode with hardcore or expert. Those are different things. Hardcore is a player difficulty you choose when you make your player, and expert is a world difficulty that you choose when you make your world. But hard mode is a harder version of your existing world. It's sort of like starting over. It's sort of like a new quest, but you're not actually starting over. What happens is basically the world changes so significantly that it just feels like you're starting over, essentially. So you don't actually start over, you still have all your stuff, but the game changes so much it kind of feels like you're starting over. There are many new and harder enemies, tons of new items, weapons, accessories, and gear, and yeah, some of these guys, for instance. And I'm going to get out of there before they kill me because I'm not geared up yet. So there's tons of new stuff, items, weapons, accessories, gear, enemies, new NPCs. Your existing NPCs will have some new things for sale. And there's new materials, new crafting stations, even a whole new biome. You can get wings only in hard mode. New ores become available. The way your world operates actually changes a bit. So first of all, how do you get hard mode? Well, second of all, your world is automatically converted into hard mode after you defeat the Wall of Flesh. So you have your regular world, you defeat the Wall of Flesh boss, and then you are in hard mode. This is signified by the message when you defeat the Wall of Flesh. It says, "The ancient spirits of light and dark have been released, and new and powerful things come into the world." And this is an expert world, so even the slimes are more dangerous in hard mode, but we'll get to that. Not in normal mode, only in not in normal mode, only in expert hard mode. They're back again. Slimes are dangerous again, but we'll get to that. So once that little message comes, the world is permanently changed. You defeat the Wall of Flesh, it gives you that message, ancient spirits of light and dark. The world is permanently changed, and there's no way back except to make another new world. So what changes other than there's a lot of new stuff, new items and enemies and so on? What else changes? There are two giant biome stripes that are created at that point in a giant V shape, which is centered at the center of the underworld and then goes up and out towards the sides. So diagonal stripes, giant diagonal stripes, one to the left or the west and one to the right or the east, and they extend again from the center of the underworld upwards diagonally. One will be the new Hallow biome, the other will be Corruption or Crimson, depending which one was already in your world. So it'll be the same one you already had normally. I think there's a chance on mobile that you can get Crimson in a Corruption world, but that's an aside. Generally speaking, it's whichever one you already had. And so the new Hallowed biome is, that's what I'm making my way towards here. I want to be able to show it to you. It's a happy, magical new place where there's unicorns and pixies, and they frolic freely. And as you can see, it can be even desert or it can be regular. There are different versions. So there are unicorns and pixies, and it's wonderful and happy. And look at the colorful trees, and everything's wonderful and happy, except that they're all going to kill you. It's actually very hard. Unicorns and pixies and everything, when you're starting out, they're going to be a big challenge. So it looks nice, but that doesn't make it nice. Keep that in mind. I just wanted to show you, and as I say, there are pixies and unicorns, but honestly, I'm not prepared to face them yet, especially in expert. All I've got is my pre-hard mode Crimson armor, which I put on because I thought it was more likely I'd survive with that than with my meteor that I used to kill the Wall of Flesh. But yeah, I know, I'm afraid. And this is a world where I just got to hard mode in expert. So I got to gear up, right? Yes, the Hallow is happy looking, but it's going to kill you. These biomes now spread aggressively. So the Hallow, the Corruption, Crimson, whichever you have, they now spread aggressively. Not just the grass. Before, only the grass would be converted, but now at this point, when you're in hard mode, blocks will be converted as well. So if they are not stopped, the spread of these biomes can eventually take over the entire world, and all of this nice, what's called the purity, your regular sort of forest and your regular desert and so on, can be erased with Hallow or Corruption or Crimson. There are certain types of blocks that can be converted and certain types that, well, actually most actually cannot, but certain very common blocks can, which means they will spread. But since it's only certain block types, it is possible to halt and prevent that spread. And there's various ways of doing that, which I'll get to as well. These biomes can now intersect with and spread to other mini biomes. As you saw, I had a Hallow desert there, and you can have a Corrupt or Crimson desert as well, for example. And they actually spread very quickly through desert, particularly by the way. So you can get like little variant mini biomes like Hallowed or Corrupt desert. Of course, Corrupt and Crimson desert can happen before that anyway, but with that giant V shape, it just shoots up and whatever it hits is converted. And then not only that, they're spreading aggressively, so they can spread into other places as well. So you can get some unique areas with unique enemies, and you may have seen some of the enemies that were charging through those areas. What is my luck with golden bunnies and stuff when I'm making videos? And you're all going to be upset if I don't go and get that, right? I've had enough people yell at me, what are you doing not getting the golden bunny or the golden squirrel or whatever? So, interlude. I got it again. Okay? I got it. Anyway, so let's talk about preparation for hard mode. So there are some things you can do in pre-hard mode to prepare yourself for going into hard mode that will help you quite a lot. And a lot of that has to do with those spreading biomes. It's a good idea, if you don't mind taking the time, to wall off your existing Corruption or Crimson areas before you defeat the Wall of Flesh. So you'll need to dig all the way around them. And that's what I did here. You can see I actually have a shaft, and I went down and around and around and around, all the way around that area of Crimson. Now, unfortunately, that V shot up right there, and so now it's on the other side again anyway. But, yeah, that happened to be the Crimson one in this world because I had Crimson, and the giant V shot up right there, and it's on the other side. So eventually I might want to do something about that. But more important is actually to protect your spawn area. And of course, if you do dig around these in pre-hard mode like I did, that will generally prevent them from spreading, unless of course it's overlapped by the giant V. But I did that actually with all of my existing ones. You can see here as well. This was a Crimson area. I dug all the way around it and created essentially a barrier there as well. So that'll prevent that area from being infected, shall we say, so quickly. One thing I did not do, though, which you may want to consider as well, is to basically make a barrier around your spawn area, particularly if that's where you have your NPC village. You want to protect your village, especially from the Corruption or the Crimson, because if they spread to this area, these guys will all move out. So it's a good idea to create a barrier there. I'm going to have to do that in a little bit of a panic because I don't want to lose this area. But so as far as actually doing that, the way the spread works is that in hard mode, and only in hard mode, Corruption, Crimson, and Hallow can spread to blocks up to 3 blocks away from the originally corrupted or hallowed block. So specifically, I did mention certain types. Specifically, they will convert stone, ice, sand, hardened sand, and sandstone, and also thorns and vines. So the actual plants, some of them can be corrupted as well. Of course, the grass as well, which can happen in pre-hard mode. Corruption and Crimson, but not Hallow, can also convert mud to dirt. And of course, dirt, if it's near enough the surface, can grow their grass. So they will, Corruption and Crimson, will gradually convert mud with jungle grass, i.e. your jungle, your entire jungle, can gradually be converted to dirt very slowly. It takes longer for them to convert that mud into dirt and then to convert that area as well. So they will gradually convert your jungle to dirt and other mud areas to dirt, and then if it's near the surface particularly, they can grow their grass. If there's stone blocks in there, they can convert those stone blocks and keep spreading, but they will not convert mud with mushroom grass, interestingly enough, so they will not take over mushroom biomes. So of course, again, they can also spread through grass, thorns, vines, and so on, so you have to watch out for that, especially near the surface. Hallowed grass can actually convert crimson grass, but otherwise they will not convert each other. They will only convert pure blocks or pure areas, so regular stone will be converted to crimstone, ebonstone, hallowed stone, pearl stone, that's the one. And so on. You get the idea. You can end up with, of course, pink or purple or so pink again, ice, and so on. And you get the idea. But anyway, what you need to protect your areas is to create a 3-block gap all the way around, either all the way around the biome you want to prevent from spreading, or all the way around the area you want to protect. So it's a 3-block gap all the way around, and near the surface you will probably want to wall it off. Again, that's near the surface, generally above 0 elevation is where grass grows, so that is where you'll generally want to wall it off with non-convertible blocks to prevent the grass, the thorns, and the vines from growing on it and therefore spreading it, because the thorns and the vines particularly, they are considered corrupt or crimson or hallow as well, and they can also spread it to anything near them in that 3-block area around them as well. So they can and will do that, and so you need non-convertible blocks. Clay, wood, and others are good options. They do not convert clay, they do not convert wood, and there's lots of other types of blocks actually, like granite and stuff. The more exotic block types, in many cases, will not be converted as well. It's just that certain list I already said. Alternative to that, yeah, make sure you effectively seal the top area, because again, those thorns particularly can grow from one side to the other across a gap. And these vines, there's no such thing as corrupt vines, interestingly, but there are both crimson and hallow ones. So if this was gradually getting converted and then these vines got converted, then they would reach down here and start converting the next area. So you really have to watch that. And so yeah, vertical and horizontal shafts are easiest, and I kind of showed you there on my map, but I can wander over and show you directly that I actually walled that area in pre-hard mode with clay, because clay can't be converted. So you can see this is where it is. It's 3 blocks wide, or maybe I'll make it 4 for just to be perfectly safe. And you want to seal it effectively at the top. In fact, if anything, you might want to put a couple blocks extra so that you really don't have to worry about thorns growing across, because if a thorn bridges that gap, it's going to start converting the other side as well. And yeah, so watch out for all of that and make sure that you wall it in effectively, especially near the surface. And another option, actually, if you don't want to block it in with non-convertible blocks, you do also have the option of just making it really wide. The thing is that thorns can grow 6 blocks in any direction, so I think you would have to make that 9 blocks wide, because it's that 6 plus the 3 around the thorn, right? So that would have to be 9 blocks wide to be effective otherwise near the surface. Now, further down, you don't have to worry about stuff growing across the gap, so that 3-block gap is good enough when you're below where grass grows, but above it, or you would probably want a little buffer zone as well, because again, thorns and vines can grow downwards. So a little further down, you might want to do it as well, but generally, when you're far enough underground, it's just the 3 blocks. If you're near the surface, either wall it in with something or make it really wide. So you may also, as I say, you know, it's an option of whether you want to go around the infected area and stop that infected area from spreading, or whether you want to go around the protected area and just protect a certain area. That's up to you. And again, particularly important to protect your NPC village, which I will need to do. Or you can potentially let your NPC village area go to Hallow. That will not make your people move out, but you will have harder enemies spawn in a hallowed area than in a purity area. So it's up to you. If you're in normal, you won't generally have enemies spawn in your NPC village. If you're an expert, they still will. So more urgency to not have Hallow there if you're an expert. And it is possible to convert things back later on, but it's more difficult. You can use powders from the Dryad, and then later on you can get the Steampunker with the Clintaminator. So you can convert it back, but it's more difficult. So my suggestion is it's better to prepare, but that's really up to you. It's also worth noting that the rate of that spread slows by 2/3 after you defeat Plantera. So another option is, you know, if you don't want to take, it could be hours of time to do all of that digging and all of that work. You could just rush through it and kill the mechanical bosses and Plantera really quickly, and that'll slow it down a lot, at least 2/3 of the rate. So that's another option. And it can also be the other item of preparation, other than the biome spread issues. It can also be very helpful to do crate fishing in pre-hard mode. I'll explain why in the next section, which I need to skip to. It's going to be a little bit into that, but we'll talk about why it's good to do some crate fishing. Okay, so yeah, I was going to wait for the next day, but screw it. How to get new ores, how to get the new stuff. First thing is the ores probably. The new ores will probably be your first priority. You'll need some better equipment, particularly armor, to take on harder enemies. Your pre-hard mode armor is just not going to do it. So there are actually two ways of getting the new ores and the bars they are made from. The way that most people know about, the normal default way, is to use the Pwn Hammer, which you got from defeating the Wall of Flesh, or you should have. Of course, there are different prefixes, but the Pwn Hammer is the first hammer that allows you to break demon and crimson altars. It's dropped by the Wall of Flesh, and you can basically just find those demon and crimson altars, smash them with your Pwn Hammer. The first 3 altars you break will each spawn a new ore into the world, and you'll need to go underground and mine them, of course. So that's, you know, one of the ways that hard mode is a lot like starting over. You're going to go and mine for ores if you do it this way, at least. So the first one that you break will spawn either cobalt or palladium, and it will just deposit a bunch of that underground. Randomly, it will overwrite other blocks that are down there already, so basically you just have wads of new ore appearing. The second altar that you break spawns either mithril or orichalcum, and the third spawns adamantite or titanium. And so the cobalt or palladium are going to be the most plentiful, mithril or orichalcum in the middle, and adamantite or titanium will be the least plentiful. So it's like the pre-hard mode ores, where you get one or another, underground at least. And again, the higher tier ones are going to be rarer. So you can keep breaking more, but we'll get to why that's not necessarily a bad idea. Spelunker potions are your friend. You may or may not have already used them, may or may not have used them in pre-hard mode. Spelunker potions are going to be very helpful for finding those ores underground. And as far as actually mining them, you will need a molten pickaxe or a reaver shark. Those are the ones that you can get in pre-hard mode that will allow you to mine the first tier cobalt and palladium ores. But you will then need to make a cobalt or palladium pickaxe or drill. You now have drills as well. You can choose which one you want to mine your mithril or orichalcum. So you need to get the cobalt palladium, make a pickaxe or drill, use that to mine mithril or orichalcum. You'll also want to save 10 mithril or 12 orichalcum bars to craft a new hard mode anvil, which is crafted at your old anvil. And then you'll also need a mithril or orichalcum pickaxe or drill, which is only creatable at that new mithril or orichalcum, also known as hard mode anvil, to mine adamantite or titanium. So it's a build-up. You need your high-end pre-hard mode molten or reaver shark to get the cobalt palladium. You need the cobalt or palladium pickaxe or drill to get the mithril or orichalcum, and then you need a new anvil made from that stuff, mithril or orichalcum, as well as a new mithril or orichalcum pickaxe or drill to mine the titanium. And then not only that, in order to make bars, you can make those first 2-tier bars at your regular furnace or your hellforge, but you will need to make an adamantite or titanium forge from a hellforge and 30 adamantite or titanium ore at your brand new hard mode anvil, the mithril or orichalcum anvil, in order to craft adamantite or titanium bars. So there's a lot of buildup there in order to get to the highest tier. And yeah, as far as breaking the altars, let's get back to that for a second. After those first 3 altars you break, each further altar adds more of those same ores. So it's decided which ores you get in the first 3, and then you can continue breaking them in cycles of 3 to add more of each tier. So the 4th one is going to add more cobalt or palladium. The 5th one is going to add more mithril or orichalcum, one or the other. And the 6th one is going to add more adamantite or titanium. It's not going to add the ones you don't have. It's just going to give you more. But you get less each time. So for each additional 3 that you break, you get less than the previous 3. So the second set of 3 altars yields half the original amount. The third set yields a third of the original amount. The 4th set yields a quarter of the original amount, and so on. The real problem, though, is that each altar you break also has a 66%, 2/3 chance of spawning a new biome block seed. It'll basically seed corruption, crimson, or hallow. It's going to pick a random stone block somewhere deep underground in the cavern layer and convert it to either corruption, crimson, or hallow. Again, whichever corruption or crimson you had in your world, or hallow. And it's basically just going to convert one random block anywhere deep underground, and you're not going to know where it is. And so the more altars that you break, the more those things are spreading from deep underground, where you're not even probably going to notice it for a while. And so you're gradually corrupting your world with the more, on the one hand, you're getting more ores. On the other hand, you're gradually corrupting your world. So do what you want. You can do it that way. But you may cause yourself trouble later on. So there's an effective limit to how many you probably want to break. I would say in the 9 to 12 range, personally. That would be my recommendation. If you're going to go with the altar breaking method anyway. But yeah, for crafting purposes, you'll also want to keep at least one altar around, because altars are used for crafting certain things. Not very many things, but you want to keep at least one anyway. And the other thing is that destroying those altars also spawn 1 to 2 wraiths. So you can find a lot of them all together in the underground corruption or crimson. You may not want to break a lot of altars really, really quickly unless you're prepared, because they spawn wraiths, and those wraiths can swarm you. So you want to be a little geared up. The other thing is, after the very first altar that you destroy, there is from then on a 10% chance each night that one of the mechanical bosses will automatically spawn. So if you're not ready to fight the mechanical bosses, that's another reason to go with the other method I'm going to tell you about in a second. And also pirate invasions. Pirate invasions only happen after you've broken at least one of the altars. So the game kind of gives you a break for a little while. It's like, gives you some time to figure out that you need to go and break the altars to get the new ores. But once you do, then it's like, okay, it's go time. You have a chance of the mechanical bosses coming to get you, as well as the pirate invasions. So there's an alternative. If you want to avoid getting those seeded in, and this is where the fishing I was talking about comes in, a really quick method, and this is an awesome tip for being prepared for hard mode, if you really want to get those new ores and bars and avoid that seeding, you know, evil and hallow deep underground, and get a boost at the beginning of hard mode really quickly, do a lot of crate fishing. Fish for crates in pre-hard mode, because crates have a chance to give you ores or bars. Wooden crates will give you ore or bars. Other crates will give you just bars. And in pre-hard mode, you only get pre-hard mode ores, but in hard mode, you get the hard mode things as well. In fact, in some cases, you have a higher chance of getting the hard mode ones. So what you can do is actually save up a whole bunch of crates, like I did here in pre-hard mode. You can save those up and then wait until you get into hard mode. You can go fishing, get lots of crates in pre-hard mode, save them, get into hard mode, and then open them. And that is going to give you an awesome immediate boost. And I'm going to sell my bunny because I'm going to need some room here. And I'm going to stow this pwn hammer because I'm probably going to need a little more room there too. And I'm just going to show you this. I actually already opened just one crate and got 20 titanium bars. And if that's not lucky, I don't know what is. But I'm going to open some more of these. I have to transfer them to my inventory. And yeah, I mean, I even get some other nice gear. And there you go. I got some more bars or a calcum. Stuff and stuff and stuff. And yeah, I really should have left more room here. Let's put that away, and let's put these away. And you can just get a ton of awesome stuff just by opening crates at the beginning of hard mode. Boop, boop, boop. I'm getting all those nice bars, and I'm saving all that mining. And another interesting thing is that you can get both types of bars this way. So whether your world is going to get cobalt or palladium, you can actually get both types of bars. Same with mithril or orichalcum, and same with titanium here. So I'm just going to start stowing these here for the moment. And perfect example, I got some mithril there as well. And yes, you can still get pre-hard mode bars also, but it's just a really awesome way of getting a nice little boost at the beginning, and then you have a choice really whether you want to do some more fishing when you're in hard mode, or and yeah, even the spelunker potions that I was talking about to help you find those ores, you can get those from the crates as well. So lots of very helpful stuff just by saving up some crates and opening those up when you get to hard mode. And anyway, I guess you get the idea. Basically, I'm going to be able to get some awesome gear very early because I did that. So we'll move right along. And yeah, it's a question. Do you want to save like a real huge ton of crates, which actually I might get all I need just from the amount of crates that I saved already. I had something around, I would guess, 50 crates. That might be plenty enough. Oh, some adamantite there. Or, you know, you can save a ton of crates in pre-hard mode, or you can just save what you happen to get along the way. I did do a lot of fishing, so I had a lot of crates. It wasn't really that I was spending a lot of time intentionally saving crates just for this, but I did do a lot of fishing anyway, so I got a lot of crates. So you can spend a lot of time and get a lot of crates on purpose, or you can just, you know, maybe do some fishing along the way and just save those crates as you go. Or you can, of course, still do fishing once you get into hard mode as well, although, of course, you're going to have harder enemies. I can still, if I don't get enough from these crates, I can still go fishing, get more crates. Or you can combine the two things, have some crates, use some crates. Oh, I didn't get enough. I'm going to go break some altars. But this will give you a quick boost. You'll be able to craft some new gear. I'll be able to craft some basic hard mode armor and the new anvil and even the forge just from the stuff I get from the crates. And that's just going to save a ton of time once I get into hard mode, which I am now. So either way, depending which way you want to go, or if you want to combine the two, make sure that you do save up 10 mithril or 12 orichalcum bars, which I've got already, to craft your hard mode anvil. Again, that's crafted at the old anvil. You're going to need that new hard mode anvil, mithril or orichalcum anvil, to craft a lot of the new and upgraded gear. That's very important. And even to craft, even if I get all these bars, I'm going to need that new anvil to craft especially the high-end gear. So, the other thing is, as you continue through hard mode, there are additional ores and bars that you can get. After those initial ones, the mechanical bosses, each time you defeat one of those, you will get some hallowed bars. There is no hallowed ore. The mechanical bosses are the only way of getting hallowed bars, which of course you can upgrade your armor with that as well, and other gear. You can make your Excalibur and various other things with that. Once you defeat all 3 of the mechanical bosses, you then have the materials to craft a Drax or a pickaxe axe to mine chlorophyte, which you'll find in the underground jungle. Chlorophyte starts growing from the beginning of hard mode, but you can only mine it usually after you've defeated all 3 mechanical bosses. Exception to that, on the current pre-update mobile version and on 3DS, this will probably go away on mobile when mobile gets the update, which hopefully is going to be soon. You can actually get a Drax on those currently 3DS. That's not going to go away. Mobile probably will, but still, for now, you can get a Drax from Shadow Chest in the Underworld in pre-hard mode even, and you can skip all that progression. So if you happen to be on the pre-update mobile or on 3DS, check out all your Shadow Chests, and if you're lucky, you can get a Drax, and right from the beginning of hard mode, you can just go into the underground jungle and look for some chlorophyte, and you may want to check out my chlorophyte farm if you don't find enough. There's a video I made on that long ago. So, speaking of videos I made long ago, how to get wings. Wings are also a very high priority, of course, for many people. Once you get into hard mode, because you can only get them in hard mode, everybody wants wings, but you can normally only get them once you're in hard mode. So on the pre-update platforms, a very easy option to get wings is to wait for a blood moon, go to your dryad, and she will sell you a set of sparkly wings for 40 gold. But that's only on the pre-update mobile, 3DS, and old-gen consoles. The Dryad will sell you sparkly wings during blood moons for a mere 40 gold. It's not too bad. On all platforms, though, there is another quick alternative to buy wings, which is the leaf wings, which the witch doctor, this guy over here, him or her, I'm not sure, will sell you, but only if you make a house in the jungle and at night. So if you make a house for the witch doctor in the jungle and you move your witch doctor to that house in the jungle and you wait for nighttime, you can go and buy leaf wings from the witch doctor for 1 platinum. So if you're good at making money, that's not going to be a problem. I've got, I think, several platinum saved up. So that's certainly a nice, easy option for me. Actually, you know what? Do I? I thought I had platinum. Maybe I don't even have platinum. But, oh, maybe it's because oh, I got a bunch of money from the crates, actually. Anyway, you'll need 1 platinum to buy those leaf wings from the witch doctor at night in the jungle only. There are also many types of wings that you can craft. Most of them will require 20 souls of flight. So to get souls of flight, you will need to go up in the sky and fight some wyverns. They're like big, long, you know, sort of dog-headed looking things. They sort of look like Falcor from the Neverending Story. It's my opinion. Anyway, if you go up high enough, wyverns will come to attack you, much like harpies did earlier in the game. And they're a tough enemy, but they drop souls of flight. You'll want to use piercing weapons, ideally, against them, because they're multi-segmented. They're like flying worms. So piercing weapons will help, and you'll want 20 of those souls of flight and then combine them with other items. There are various sets of wings that you can craft by using the souls of flight. Generally, I think it's at the anvil, but you'll need some other ingredients. For example, fairy wings, you'll need those 20 souls of flight and 100 pixie dust, so you can spend some time fighting pixies in the Hallow, get some pixie dust, and you can make fairy wings. Or you can make angel or demon wings by combining those 20 souls of flight with 10 feathers from harpies, as well as 25 souls of light or night. So 25 souls of light, you'll get the angel wings with 10 feathers and 20 souls of flight. 20 souls of night plus 20 souls of flight and 10 feathers, you'll get the demon wings. And Souls of Light are from the Hallow. Souls of Night are from Corruption and Crimson. Also, one other way of getting wings, if you want some of the more interesting wings, probably definitely not the easiest way, but in Expert, hard mode boss treasure bags, any hard mode boss, their treasure bags have a 5% chance of having a developer item set, at least any boss that has a treasure bag. And most of those developer item sets include wings, except for one. So when you defeat the bosses in hard mode, you also have a chance to get a whole vanity set and some wings and maybe one or two other items as part of the developer set. But again, that's not the most practical. But it's nice if you want those special items. That's how you get them. So let's talk about some other gear upgrades. It does become more important to specialize for one class once you're in hard mode. The emblems and other accessories that you get starting from about the time you get to hard mode often boost stats for only one class. So the Wall of Flesh drops emblems, and mine dropped a Ranger emblem in this case. You may need to farm the Wall of Flesh if you want those emblems. It's a good idea. So whatever class that you want to play, it's really up to you in your playstyle. Melee, ranged, magic or mage, and summoner. Those are the four main classes. Unfortunately, thrower doesn't really continue into hard mode. It exists in pre-hard mode. But there's no upgraded gear for throwers in hard mode currently. And a summoner emblem only exists on the updated platforms. The other three emblems are all platforms. But those emblems are going to help you a lot. Other accessories that boost stats for whatever class you choose to play, which is why it's a good idea to choose. Do I want to be melee? Do I want to be ranged? Do I want to be a mage? Or do I want to be a summoner? And then gear up accordingly. So most hard mode armor sets are either class specific or have different headpieces for each of the classes. Stacking up those boosts from the class specific armor and class specific accessories will make you far more powerful. So for melee, ranged, or magic users, you can use those new ore, get those new ores and craft a new set of armor from the highest tier ore that you can manage, and use the headpiece that is suitable for your class. It'll tell you which one's which. For summoners, on the other hand, those ore-based armor sets do not specialize for summoners. So first thing you're going to want to do, unless you're on 3DS, if you're on any of the other platforms and you want to be a summoner, find a spider nest and farm the spiders, the black recluses specifically for spider fangs to get your spider armor if you're a summoner. As far as weapons, there are actually tons and tons of new hard mode weapons, so I can't begin to tell you all the options, but the Wall of Flesh itself, along with those emblems, can drop some decent weapons. There's the Breaker Blade, which I did get, although I already had the Knight's Edge, which is arguably better. So that's a decent one for melee. There's the Clockwork Assault Rifle for ranged players, and there's also the Laser Rifle for mages. Unfortunately, no summoner item there either. But so farming the Wall of Flesh can be good for getting both the emblems and a good starting weapon for your class. Various good weapons and accessories are also dropped by mimics. You'll want to check out my mimics guide for that. You'll probably want to get something reasonable for hard mode before you go fighting mimics. So even those new bars, those new ores and bars, you can craft some decent weapons from these if you have enough left. And especially using this method, you know, you can go for higher tier armor and lower tier weapon, or vice versa, because you've got both at once instead of having to upgrade a bit at a time. But yeah, you can make some decent weapons from those as well. And of course, if you want to specialize and get the absolute best, I have class guides. Class guide for melee, class guide for range, one for mages, and one for summoners. I did one each that will tell you some of the best weapons and options for each one. And I have tons and tons of weapon guides, so for different classes, different types of weapons. So if you really want the best, check those out. But the sort of easy version is to get some basic weapons from either the Wall of Flesh or craft something from these bars, and then go fight some mimics, make a Key of Light or Key of Night to turn an empty chest into a mimic, fight it if you're on the updated platforms. That's the really easy option, because the biome mimics only exist on the updated platforms, but even the regular mimics do drop some excellent stuff as well. So you may want to check my mimics guide if you want some pretty good weapons pretty fast. And I am going to now talk about bosses and enemies in 1 second. Okay, so let's talk about hard mode bosses and events first of all. The Goblin Army, which exists in pre-hard mode, gets harder once you get into hard mode. That's important to know, because you're probably going to get wrecked if you're not geared up when you hit your first hard mode Goblin Army. Also, as I mentioned, pirate invasions are a new event that can occur after smashing at least one altar in hard mode. The Frost Legion actually can be summoned at any time in hard mode. That's another event, but the item to summon it comes from Christmas presents, so you'll probably only run into that around Christmas unless you save up some snow globes. As far as bosses, first of all, the mechanical bosses, those are the first bosses that you're going to face in hard mode. The Destroyer, the Twins, and Skeletron Prime. Personally, that's probably the order I would fight them. You can fight them in any order. Again, after smashing one altar, those bosses will start to auto-spawn, 10% chance each night that one of them will come to get you. So another reason to have some crates and maybe not go smash that altar right away, but that's up to you. Once you defeat all three of those, actually, once you defeat one of those mechanical bosses, Solar Eclipse can start happening. That's another event. So you just need to defeat one of those mechanical bosses and you can start running into solar eclipses. Again, it's just a chance each day that a solar eclipse will happen. 1 in 20 if I recall correctly. I didn't note that. On the updated platforms, those solar eclipses also can get harder later on. They will get harder after you defeat all three mechanical bosses, and that's when Mothron starts coming on the updated platforms. And again, updated platforms only, those solar eclipses will then get harder again after you defeat Plantera, which is another boss we'll talk about in a sec. So you can summon the mechanical bosses or by crafting certain items, or you can wait for them to appear on their own. Again, be prepared. I'm going to do guides on those actually in the next few weeks. Expert level guides on all three of them and so on. So after you defeated all three mechanical bosses, the next boss is Plantera in the underground jungle. Plantera's bulbs will start growing after you defeat all three mechanical bosses, and you smash one, so Plantera comes. So again, be prepared before you go smashing a bulb in the underground jungle. And after Plantera, you get the key from Plantera to enter the jungle temple, and only after defeating Plantera, even if you manage to get in there before that, it's only after you defeat Plantera that you can fight Golem, which is the boss of the underground jungle temple. Technically, you can also fight Duke Fishron anytime in hard mode. Actually, if you get the item somehow in a pre-hard mode world, you only get the Truffle Worm item to summon Duke Fishron in hard mode, but you can fight him in pre-hard mode if you take that to another world. That's another story. You can fight Duke Fishron at any time, but generally it's recommended that you fight Duke Fishron after Golem and all those previous bosses. Also, anytime after you've defeated Plantera, you can get Ectoplasm in the dungeon. The dungeon does change after you defeat Plantera as well, and you can then craft the items to summon the Pumpkin Moon and the Frost Moon anytime after you've defeated Plantera. Also, very hard events. Now, there's further stuff that's platform specific. On the old gen consoles, 3DS, and the pre-update mobile, again, this is one of those things, only among those, only mobile is getting an update now. Okram will probably go away on mobile, but for now, old gen console, 3DS, and pre-update mobile, there's the Okram boss that can also technically be summoned anytime in hard mode. But again, like Duke Fishron is a very difficult boss, so wouldn't recommend that until probably after you've defeated Golem. Again, up to you. So that's the pre-update only have Okram. The updated platforms do not have Okram. PC only so far, there's the old one's army event. That also gets harder. First gets harder after you defeat all three mechanical bosses, and then gets harder again. That's tier 2 after you defeat all three mechanical bosses. Tier 3 after you've defeated Golem is sort of the highest tier most difficult version of the old one's army, which so far is still PC only, but may come to other platforms eventually. On all updated platforms, not just PC, after you've defeated Golem, there's the Martian Madness event that becomes available. Martian probes will kick that one off if you don't kill them. They have to detect you and then get away successfully. To kick off the Martian Madness event, you'll find them in the outer areas of the map generally. Also on the updated platforms are the newer endgame bosses and events. The Lunatic Cultist. After you defeat Golem, cultists will spawn at the dungeon entrance. Make sure you do not destroy the floor of the dungeon entrance at any point in your game, or those cultists will not spawn and you won't be able to do the end game stuff. So that's important. You can recreate a flat surface where your dungeon entrance used to be, as long as it's at exactly the right height, but that's a whole other discussion. So Lunatic Cultist, which then once you defeat the Lunatic Cultist, you have the Lunar Events, which are the pillars, and then you have the Moon Lord, the final boss of Terraria on the updated platform. So that's just how that, the order of all that. I'm not going to get into all the details. Also, as far as enemies, most biomes, once you get into hard mode, have new, more difficult enemies. As you may have noticed when earlier in the vid I was going through the desert, and there was, I think, a basilisk came charging through, and there was that scorpion that came up from the underground. So most biomes will have a bunch of new different enemies that are going to be difficult. However, the underworld only gets its main new enemies other than mimics. Mimics can be anywhere underground, but other than that, the underworld gets its special new enemies only after you've defeated one of the mechanical bosses, and the dungeon only gets newer, harder enemies, as I sort of implied there, after you defeat Plantera. The dungeon actually changes significantly, lots of new enemies after you defeat Plantera. And this is one of those rare things where I mentioned something special about expert mode. So in expert mode, most existing enemies, even pre-hard mode enemies, will get major stat boosts. Along with there being new hard mode enemies, even the pre-hard mode enemies in expert mode get big boosts. So even slimes, when you start out in hard mode, those slimes are going to be way harder and nastier. If you're playing an expert, and only if you're playing an expert, and among other enemies that get major boosts. So, conclusion, basically hard mode is a huge new adventure. I think hard mode is probably bigger than pre-hard mode. There's more stuff in hard mode that's specific to hard mode than there is in all of pre-hard mode, and it's a huge new adventure, and it changes actually as you go. So this is what I mean. Look at that. That slime has 246 health because this is an expert mode world, and he's going to do a ton of damage. So even slimes are formidable again once you get in hard mode if you're playing an expert. But hard mode is a huge new adventure with a massive volume of new stuff to discover and to explore, and it's a lot of fun. I can't cover it all in one guide, but I hope this helps you to understand it and to get started in hard mode. So hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.